guys.
How are y'all?
Told me I could sit down.
You can sit down. How do you like it? You need to sit down.
They might want to come on down so they can sit down.
Yeah, just come on around.
And I'll sit in Starnes' chair until he gets here.
Is Scott coming today?
No, I haven't heard from
I know he
him.
was-
I heard from Scott.
She's filling in for Scott.
There we go. Got a new council member.
There we go. I love it. This is good practice. We should do this more often.
Honestly? Okay, I have 5:32 p.m. I will officially call this meeting to order. Would you please do roll call?
Mayor Rodham,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Perry,
Here.
Councilmember Caffey,
Here.
Councilmember Walker,
Here.
Councilmember Oliveris,
Here.
Councilmember Starnes, Councilmember Milton.
Here. Would please stand, face the flag, and join us in the pledge, followed by the invocation. Pledge allegiance.
Our invocation this evening is by Justin Johnson, one of the students of the Rockdale ISD. Before he comes to deliver the invocation, we would like to pause for a brief moment. Larry Sanders lost his life in a car accident recently. His brother James works in our Public Works Department, and his brother-in-law Chuck Harner works for the city as well. Larry left behind his wife and a young son. Justice?
Not doing invocation?
He's doing, Councilmember Melton, he's just doing the
Did
proclamation.
they change that? He has the
Okay.
invocation. I don't think to change that.
All right, so I will read the invocation for this evening. It's a spring invocation. As the earth awakens to the warmth of spring, we pause to soak in the beauty of blooming flowers and the melody of returning birds. This season of new beginnings reminds us of your constant presence and the fresh starts you offer us through your grace. We thank you for the promise of renewal and growth, not just in the world around us, but in our hearts and lives. Help us to see the new paths you are laying before us, to embrace the opportunities for growth, and to step forward in faith, trusting in your guidance and care. In this season of renewal, we ask for a deeper understanding of your love and a stronger desire to share that love with others. May our spirits be refreshed and our faith strengthened as we witness the miracle of life and renewal all around us. Bless our families, our community, and all those in need of your comforting touch. May this springtime be a season of healing, hope, and joy for all. Amen.
Thank you, sir. You can be seated, please. I'll remain standing. Actually, Citizens Communications, I don't need to remain standing, I'm sorry. Do we have anyone signed up for citizen communication?
No, sir.
No? Okay, we'll move on to the proclamations. Justice, you want to read the proclamation for the band?
Whereas the city of Rockdale proudly celebrates its 150th anniversary in 2024, a significant milestone reflecting our rich history and community spirit. And whereas the Rockdale High School Band has exemplified outstanding dedication to music excellence, significantly enriching the cultural landscape of our community. And whereas this year, the Rockdale High School Band has showcased their remarkable talents through the A Future as Big as Texas program, which not only honors our city's anniversary, but also fosters pride and connection among our citizens. And whereas leadership and members of the Rockdale High School Band from 2024 to 2025 have represented the city of Rockdale with honor, embodying the resilience and creativity that our community treasures. And the city expresses our heartfelt gratitude to the leadership and the members of the Rockdale High School Band from 2024 to 2025 for their invaluable contributions to our community and their role in celebrating the 150th anniversary of the city of Rockdale.
Justice?
Thank you.
On behalf. It's my honor to present this proclamation to the hardworking students of Rockdale High School, the band members and the band directors, their parents as well. We all know it takes a whole community to get something going and get it going right. So thank you for your hard work and congratulations. Thank you. Next proclamation
Hold on,
is,
Ward, you get a picture with them real quick.
oh, okay.
Sneak in there. Got something all the way around? Got it, Greg?
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a video too that we're gonna show, Mayor. We have a video of their program.
Oh,
that we're
yes,
gonna show.
okay, perfect.
Can y'all dim the light? Can somebody get the lights for us? I'm so proud.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again to our band. Congratulations on your award. We appreciate you being here this evening. The next proclamation is Fair Housing Month. Is there anyone here to represent fair housing?
Carolyn Cooper.
Oh, I'll read this. Whereas the Fair Housing Act enacted in April 11, 1968, enshrined into federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, age, disability, familial status, or nationality of origin and disability, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmative further fair housing in their communities and. Now therefore, I, Ward Rodham, Mayor of the City of Rockdale, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 Fair Housing Month. Oh, anyone here to receive this?
Oh, there she is.
Dave? Ray? Earth Day? Yes, sir. Come on up, Ray. Whereas April 22nd, 2025 marks the 55th anniversary of Earth Day, and whereas on Tuesday, April 22nd, our community will celebrate our day of community service dedicated to cleanup, planting efforts, and beautification around town. And whereas all species play a unique role in the complex web of life and contribute to the ecosystem services on which all life on Earth depends on, and hence, protecting our species is crucial to the survival of this planet and its inhabitants. And whereas it is more important than ever to cooperate locally and internationally to defend the environmental progress that has been heretofore gained. And whereas Earth Day is an annual reminder of the constant need for environmental activism, stewardship, commitments, and sustainability efforts. Now, therefore, I, Ward Rodham, Mayor of the City of Rockdale, Texas, have the distinct honor of proclaiming April 22nd, 2025 as Earth Day. Congratulations. Councilmember Melton is a big part of that Earth Day program as well, so thank you for your hard work. Terry? Y'all, come on. Everybody want to come up. Grim Guardians, right?
Well, it's, I'm Texas Trauma and Life Saving.
Okay, all right. We got it.
We're here back in her. You
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if I like you standing behind me.
Can I get somebody to take a picture of me? Because I don't have anybody here for me. Thank you.
So
Awesome.
we'll take this first.
Thank you.
Let's read this. Whereas motorcyclists are relatively unprotected and therefore more prone to injury or death in a crash than other vehicle drivers, and whereas we encourage all Milam County citizens to do their part to increase safety and awareness in our community, and for motorcycle riders and motorists to give each other the mutual respect they deserve. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Ward Rodham, Mayor of the City of Rockdale, Texas, do hereby declare the month of May 2025 to be observed as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. Congratulations.
Everybody look twice.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
For the next one, Mayor,
Yes.
Lisa, our new director, is here.
Yes. Lisa Riggs is our new library director for the City of Rockdale Library. It's nice to meet you. I'm doing well. Thank you. Yes, welcome.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely. You're very welcome. National Library Month, whereas libraries offer the opportunity for everyone to connect with others, learn new skills, and pursue their passions no matter where they are on life's journey. Whereas libraries have long served as trusted institutions striving to ensure equitable access to information and services for all members, community regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender, identity, and socioeconomic status. Whereas libraries play a pivotal role in the economic development by providing resources and support for job seekers, entrepreneurs, and small businesses, thus contributing to local prosperity and growth. Now therefore be it that I, Ward Rodham, Mayor of the City of Rockdale, Texas, do hereby declare the month of April 2025 to be observed as National Library Month. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to say something? You're welcome to.
Today was my first day, and it was a great love meeting, getting to know the staff members. We've hit the ground running. We're trying to apply for 2 grants, try to get them done. They're due this week, so time is short, so we're going, and we're looking forward to growing the library and making it a central hub for the community of Rockdale, and trying to meet everyone's needs within the community, and hope to do a good job for y'all.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wardo, you tired from reading yet?
Need some water.
Tested my reading skills tonight.
Doing great.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Council, you had the packet, you've had a chance to review the packet in the consent agenda. I'll give council opportunity to ask any questions or make any remarks, comments, concerns, needs, wants in regards to the consent agenda. If there's no comments, concerns, or questions, I'll entertain action on the consent agenda as it's written.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the consent agenda as read. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Moving on to the regular agenda. Item 10. Consider and take any necessary action on subsidizing the ridership for the HOP. Tim?
Yes, so we're requesting council support development of agreement with the Hill County Transit District and the Rockdale Senior Center for subsidizing a portion of the ridership for the HOP. Earlier this year, the HOP, or the Hill County Transit District, increased rates for ridership of that. The HOP is a public transit system that provides rides to individuals here in Rockdale and elsewhere in a 4-county area. But it was free. And now they're charging $4 each way for ridership in the HOP. And some of the biggest use of here in town was to the Senior Citizen Center for their daily luncheon. They had approximately there were approximately
110.
110, yes. People that were riding that each week, back and forth. So what I'm asking for is council to support that, moving forward with an agreement with them. I will bring that actual agreement back for council consideration if you're interested in doing that. it's gonna cost about $1,000 or $1,800 this year and $1,000 next year, to do that. And what I had proposed to them is possibly asking you all to look at, 12 months worth of ridership, so.
Tim, does it just give them rides to doctor's appointments, to the luncheon?
does.
Okay, is it like schedule? I mean, they can't just call up and say, hey, would you take me to Walmart? Or do they, or can they do that? Okay, okay.
And, what I'm asking though is just ridership to and from that luncheon, not
Okay.
wherever else they may go, or, this is basically, it would be a three-way agreement between the city, the, Senior Citizen Center, and the HOP.
And by doing this, that would then, they would not be charged to go to the lunch.
What I'm proposing is to pay $2 of the $4
Half of it,
per
okay.
trip. So they would still have to come up with the $2 per trip, which the $2 per trip, they're charging that in Cameron right now. The county elected to designate that as a kind of a hub, so they pay $2 per ride in Cameron, whereas we pay $4 per ride. They had indicated that prior to this change, there was more ridership in Rockdale than there was in Cameron. So they're gonna be reassessing this and, making a determination whether to move that hub to Rockdale. But the problem is, with us being now $4 and it being $2, the ridership has actually already dropped off significantly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Senior Citizen Center they were providing lunch for free, but they were asking for a $3 donation, for that lunch. And, that was $3 a day, $15 a week for those seniors. It was still kind of difficult, challenging for them to do that. So, as you can imagine, adding another $8 pretty much eliminates, a number of people, like eight people per week.
I think this is, well, I know this program is very important to the mobility of our senior citizens. It goes without saying. I did have one question, if I may. By contributing to this, does the city incur any new liability potential if there was an accident while that bus was in transportation?
I would have to work with the attorney to make sure that that was written into
Okay.
that we would not assume any additional liability.
Okay.
Isn't HOP funded through the county right now?
I'm sorry?
Is the county funding the HOP right now? Isn't that how it's funded?
No.
Was.
They rely largely on grants for their funding.
I think the county pays a portion of that, though, Tim.
They do pay a portion of that.
Yes. Council,
So is there, why different rates for different parts of the county? If every taxpayer in this county or in this city pays the same amount that they do at all the rest of the county, why are we paying a increased cost of $4 versus $2, twice the price?
So when the Hill County Transit District decided that they needed to raise rates because they had to eliminate, it just was not cost effective to do that, so they were gonna raise rate. They came to the judge and said, hey, we'll create a single hub wherever you designate, and they designated Cameron as that hub.
What judge
Isn't
was
that
that?
bus park right over here
Whitmire.
and fuel right over here?
Yes, it's the bus. You're right.
I'm sorry?
That bus is parked right over here at our county, at the facility right over here at Ackerman,
Precinct yard.
Precinct Yard.
And Mule?
So that was a county decision to make Cameron the hub and we paid twice?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is subject, because what I had proposed is that at worst, we go ahead and share it, instead of both, and because our ridership, we actually had more riders than Cameron, but
Right.
by a little bit. And now we have a little bit less, but if we both, instead of them paying 2 and us paying 4, if we both pay 3.
No, I agree. I think it's a great cause, but I know where Lynn's going with this, I think that's a conversation we need to have with the judge and see why he made that decision.
So whether it be the judge and the.
Because why, like I said, why is it any different from Rockdale to Milano to Thorndale? I think everybody pay the same, especially if a bus is parked right here. And that's just something I think we can have a conversation with him. I don't know if that's something he decides once a year or quarterly or what have you, but I think we could definitely,
I think it's a once-a-year decision. So.
yeah. Well, I think we need to talk to him for that next decision.
I will certainly be willing to take on that.
Yeah. So, I'm in favor of this, though.
I'll entertain, any other questions?
If I could, I am in favor of this, of course, but for clarification, we're only gonna be covering the $4. They're still gonna be having to pay the $3 for lunch, correct?
Yes, they
Correct,
still
right.
pay the $3 for lunch
But
just
we're gonna
covering the
pay $2 of the trip
for
We're
the,
paying
per way.
for
$8?
that. And so,
How much are we paying? $4.
$4 for a
currently
round
they pay
trip.
$4 each way, so $8 a day.
$8, right,
plus
that's what I'm
$3
saying,
for lunch.
$8.
That's $11.
So we're covering the
What we're proposing doing
$8.
is subsidizing $4.
2 and 2. 2 going, 2 coming.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
And you said, Tim, that round numbers, the total amount be approximately $1,000 per year?
$1,800.
$1,800
This year.
this fiscal year. And I think $1,000 it takes it through January 1.
Okay.
So the 1,800 is on our fiscal year, and then to pick up the rest of the calendar year is another 1,000? The balance of the calendar year?
1,800 through October 1st, $1,000 from October 1st to December 31st.
Yep.
Council, any other questions?
I make a motion that we accept this item as read, presented.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Item 11, consider and take any necessary action on the approval of the Rockdale Fair Association request for hotel occupancy tax hot funds for the 2025 annual Rockdale Fair. Tim, Christie, welcome back.
I feel like I just saw y'all. So I have pretty much the same presentation in the past. I think we've been getting these hot funds for the last 3 to 4 years. I've always applied for a reimbursement for the previous year's fair. So this year, I kind of met with Tim a little bit, and we talked about the fact that it would be better to apply for the current year. So I'm actually applying for the 2025 hot funds for this year's fair, but the numbers that I submitted to y'all are from the 2024 fair last year, because I obviously don't have 2025. As you all know, we had an amazing fair last year. I'm a little bit nervous that people are expecting us to duplicate that. I think there were really 2 reasons that our fair was so good. One was the entertainment that we had, and I kind of talked to you about that last year. That was a George Strait level fair that we had, and it was due, like I say, kind of half of that was because of Braxton Keith, the entertainer that we had. And that was one of the cheapest entertainers that we've ever paid for. I think we paid $10,000 for that guy. He's going for $80,000 right now, and that's just from last year to this year. So we normally have our entertainment set by March. We don't have our headliner for Saturday yet. Russell is struggling. There's such a huge gap in entertainers right now. It's kind of a delicate dance. We have to get that guy that's doing well at local fairs and bars, and we think he's going to blow up between now and October. I will tell you the last guy that we looked at, and I can't think of his name, he was a 17-year-old high school dropout. He dropped out of high school last year in December to pursue his music career. We offered him $40,000. He said no. We upped it to $60,000. He said no. We upped it to $80,000 for the 17-year-old child to sing for an hour and a half, and he agreed to it. Asked for the contract. By the time we got the contracts to him, he said no. He had an offer for $120,000. So that's kind of the battle that we have up here right now. My conclusion is that we're all in the wrong line of work, but we're still working on it. So we did up our entertainment budget next year to $150,000 just because it's our 50-year anniversary. Our normal entertainment budget is $93,000. I don't know that going from 93 to 150 is going to help us, but we're working on it. Some of the numbers have changed a little bit. In what I submitted, we had $10,000 for our advertising budget because we were looking at renting a billboard in the Taylor-Hutto area. Talked to Tim about that a little bit last month. That is falling through. We can't find anyone that'll rent us a billboard for a minimum of 4 weeks. So we're still working on that. We might have to go a little bit farther out, but we're trying to capitalize on the growth. I think is the second reason that we had such a good turnout last year was the growth that this county is seeing and that the Taylor-Hutto area is seeing. So we're trying to push our advertisement out a little bit that way. One other change on there is security. We have had the same security company for the last few years, but they didn't really work well with others in some instances. So we hired a new security for our Jubilee Days event that we just had last weekend, and that cost doubled. So we're looking at probably spending double what we normally spend on security for the fair. We're hoping not, but that's going to go up a little bit. So those are some of the numbers on the HOT-related budget expense sheet that I turned into y'all that are probably going to be a little bit different for next year. But other than that, it should be pretty well set.
It's $25,000.
And everything's on a reimbursement, correct?
No, they're asking this.
They're asking for it up front this time.
Yes.
And this goes with our new application that does go for reimbursement and also requires them to certify the hotel stays, which they've always pretty much booked everything in town for their event.
So it's not really, it's not a reambrsment, but you're on the hook to follow the rules that we.
Yes. From the new I've done the same application for the last 3-4 years. The one that I had this time, it's a different, the way that I have to prove the way that we fill the hotel rooms is a different.
That should be pretty much the only change.
Yeah.
And it is a reimbursement because they actually, if they get approved tonight, they wouldn't actually get paid till after their event.
So I'm assuming I'll come present again at the end of the year on the 2025 fair.
So essentially, it's like a reimbursement. Any other questions?
Well, first of all, y'all always do the best job on the
Thank you.
application. They do. They're dynamite. So the 25, was that what we gave last year?
Yeah, so if you recall, just a couple meetings ago, their application got lost somewhere in the shuffle. And so last month
was
or
in
2
March.
months ago, we actually approved their application for funding, and then we went ahead and funded them. It was reimbursement for last year.
Okay. But this is the same amount, 25 as,
The same amount.
Yes.
I know you probably don't want to, as I said, I know you don't want to, y'all do a great job every year. With the Jubilee Days now, are we getting any closer to having concerts, big names at Jubilee Days?
Man,
know
Brett,
it's
I don't
hard
know.
work.
We doubled what we made this year versus what we made last year, but it's still not what we're looking at. I think the reason that we doubled what we did last year was because we had an amazing barrel race. I think we made $4,000 on that, and then we had a really good team roping. Those numbers did not come from attendance from the dances and whatnot.
The rodeo
So
arena.
the rodeo is what pulled that in. So we're looking at having Jubilee Days again next year. I think we're going to focus harder on the rodeo and the barbecue cook-off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's a great event. I really do.
We still had people in Rockdale that didn't even know we were having Jubilee Days, and we blanketed radio, the newspaper, our social media, but we still had people in Rockdale that didn't know we were having it.
I admit it because I was working the store and a lot of people would say, "What's going on?" I'd say, "It's the Jubilee Days."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me.
I think, and we've been working with Lynn, and we've been working with a couple of other people. We finally, I think this year we're looking at maybe getting the sign back up on the highway that we used to do. I don't know, those of you that have been in Rockdale for a while. We used to have a sign that went across Highway 79 when TxDOT came in and made a lot of changes. We lost our light poles and couldn't do that. So I'm thinking getting that sign up is going to help us a lot, at least for local people.
Yeah. Council, any other questions? I'll entertain action on this item.
I'll make a motion that we approve the $25,000 out of HOT funds to the 2025 Rockdale Fair Association event in October.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously. That was in favor of, Councilmember, you're a little late on that right hand for me.
Thank y'all very much. We
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Christie.
Thank you.
Yes. Item 12 on the agenda, consider taking any necessary action on approval of the Rockdale Community Market for hot funds. Tim?
Yes, and Georgia has
Georgia.
a short presentation for council on this as well.
But first I want to speak, and then I'm going to introduce somebody that's going to do the presentation for us. So thank you guys for allowing us to come before you this evening. The reason we're coming back for our whole season, because that's what we're asking for tonight, is for our whole season, is because I remembered when I worked at the chamber that the chamber got money for having a pop-up visitor center at Wolf Park. And then when I took the market over last year, because the chamber wasn't doing the market, we didn't ask for anything. Nobody asked for anything for a visitor center, like from the chamber or us. This year, we came in just asking for help with advertisement. I emailed each one of you, or text you, messaged you. However, I apologize about, I didn't want you to respond. I just wanted you to know. So that's why we're here tonight. Because I called Mr. Kelty and said, hey, can the city help us out at all with advertisement? Advertisement for us is just as bad as the fair, but imagine we're all year round. People who live in Rockdale and still don't know about the fair. I mean, about the market. So, we called him asking for that help, and he said to me, no, we cannot help you unless we take it from you. And I don't think you want that, do you? And I said, well, absolutely not, and took it to our board, and talking with our board, we were kind of upset about that. We were like, hold on. Even just for help, like advertising, you're going to tell me no unless you take it over? So we went through the hot fund application, and we decided, well, we talked with our board, and we decided that we fit several of those hot funds guidelines. Mr. Kelty informed us that we attended a meeting with him, and he informed us that there is a separate fund for visitor center now, and that we should apply for that next year. So this year, we're still needing money, so we're going to go ahead and come under the number 3 and apply for a $10,000 grant for the, or not grant, whatever, hot funds, for the market for the entire season. With that, I would like to introduce to you Billy McGinnis and his beautiful girlfriend Cheyenne. They are potential board members, and he actually helped us out with this next part, so I'm going to let him come up and it's a presentation for you.
Great.
Oh, and this is Liam from Rockdale Rocks by Liam. He came to support Grandma.
Hi, my name's William Schozel. Moved out to Rockdale a little over a year and a half ago. Bought that house on Travis Street that everybody told me was rented for generations. Yeah, I'm here today with the market. If you want to go ahead. Yeah, this is our video showcasing some of the vendors that we have there, some of the community.
And what's the name of your company? Okay, where do you come from? I come from Dawson. Nice. And what does the market mean to you to have it here in Rockdale? The market means to have it here in Rockdale is a way to engage community and bring everyone together. That's great. All right. Well, thank you for making the trip. Your name?
My name is Elijah.
And what's the name of the company?
The Beat Boys.
The Beat Boys. And you guys live here in Rockdale?
Yeah, we live in Rockdale.
That's great. This is one of our young entrepreneurs that come to the market. What does coming to the market mean to you?
I really like it because we can spread our business around and tell other people about our business and make some money. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hi. Can you tell us your name?
Yes, Jimmy.
Okay. Hi. And the name of your business?
We're from Phoenix Family Farm.
Okay. And where are you out of?
Out of Cameron, Texas.
Nice. And you come to Rockdale to sell. What does it mean to you to have a place to come and sell around?
It's a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to bring all of the money to communities in Milam County area. That way, they're receiving the benefits from that local money.
Thank you very much.
My name is Michelle Marek. I live in Cameron, Taybone, and I'm from Rockdale. My soap business is Lovey and Coco, and we make all natural soaps. I also have lotion bars as well. I love coming to the market because I get to meet new people and see a lot of old faces. All of my friends come here to visit.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Teresa Lee. I'm from Rockdale. The name of my business is Fruit Bait Patch. We're also in San Antonio and Rockdale. I'm the Rockdale division. And what the market means to me is that it is just a very positive, friendly place. Tell me when you're ready, sorry. Hi, my name is
Social Center here in Rockdale, Texas, and also the sponsor of the Rockdale Community Market here. And super excited to have them here in my place and be able to sponsor them. I'm newly transplanted from Austin into Rockdale, and been here for about 8 years now. I'm permanently moved out here the last couple of months. Fell in love with the market a couple of years ago when I first got here to town. And when they approached me to have the market here, I jumped on the opportunity because I've had a fantastic interaction with the market and being able to sponsor car shows, being able to buy local products and stuff like that. So having a fantastic time, and I'm super excited to have them here for permanently.
Hi everybody, this is Georgia. This is the Rockdale Community Market, and we are here to serve the community. Our board has a servant's heart and wants the best for all of the small businesses in town, providing them a safe and free place to sell their goods to make a little bit of extra money. We have lots of different vendors that come out from all over the place, and we just love being able to provide this for Rockdale community.
Thanks. It's a good presentation. Thank you.
Very good.
Hi, tell us your name.
We'll get the lights back on here.
So we can go to the next slide if we have time. So one of the key principles of a farmer's market or a market in general is to engage with the community. We provide a free place for all vendors to come sell their craft goods, engage with each other, build a community around that. We have a lot of people traveling in, Cameron, Milano. I've seen some people as far as San Antonio I've seen wanting to come up lately. I do try to plug it when I go visit my parents. So on average, we see about 10 to 20 vendors, dependent on the weather, of course. Colder days, few less. Good days, around 20. And 40 to 70 visitors on average per day. Of course, we think that could be more. Of course, with direct engagement, fosters a strong sense of community. I have met quite a few people out here just in the few, months that I've been going to the market. There's countless friends that I made out there. So after a year and a half of living out here and just getting around, it's a great place to be. We also host special events, get the community involved, have more people out there. We've done the sunflowers. We've done the other, was kind of like a get-together market with everybody involved.
Yeah, the birthday party last
The
Saturday.
birthday party was last Saturday. I missed that, unfortunately. Next time. So another important thing is getting the youth involved. There's a lot of kids in the market. They sell everything from rocks to handmade crafts, goods, art, and such. Yeah, very important to get them involved, show true entrepreneurship at a young age, and provide them a safe platform to do that on. We bring a lot of people into Rockdale. Of course, a lot of tax dollars. They come in. They enjoy the day in Rockdale. A lot of them do make a day trip out of it. Come eat at the restaurant, see the sights. It is a gateway to local businesses, as I said. As Rockdale grows, we want to harbor a sense of still keep that small town feel to the town, while promoting something that is it's owned by the community. That's the biggest thing, keeping it owned by the community itself, independent. Yeah, you're good. Of course, our goal is a deeper partnership with the city. We wouldn't be here today if that wasn't our ultimate goal. We built something meaningful. Now we're asking for your help to expand it. Partnership with local enterprises, of course, always ensures long-term stability and continued growth for Rockdale as a whole, attracting more visitors, attracting potentially more residents over time. And with your support, we can scale our impact, improve our operational infrastructure, create events and opportunities for vendors, and help harbor a sense of community in Rockdale. So we are requesting an avenue for those hot funds, as Georgia mentioned, $10,000. Requesting from the city. With that funding, we do plan to launch ads to reach a broader audience, print market banners and signage for greater visibility. Another issue is mobility with certain individuals, visitors, vendors on site that may be mobility limited. That would help greatly, having a golf cart to shuttle them around. We'd like to host more special events, increase engagement, and keep it, most importantly, free for everybody involved. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Council questions? George, did you have anything else? I'm
Nope,
sorry.
I was just
Okay.
waiting for
Yes, ma'am.
questions if you
Yes,
had
ma'am.
questions. Thank you.
I had a question. You talked about your impact on businesses when people come to the market. How are you measuring that, and how are you measuring and reporting what impact your visitors are having on local businesses and therefore tax dollars coming into Rockdale? Do you have a measurement scale?
Well,
So I've been discussing personally with each visitor to my booth and a few of the others throughout the fair, seeing where they're from, seeing where they're going afterward, where they've been throughout the day. Of course, they stop at a lot of the restaurants. That's their primary stop after the market. Some will pass through, some will just go straight home after, but primarily a few of them will stop, go shopping, go to get their shopping done for the week, or go to Tractor Supply, any of the restaurants in town. So that's primarily what we're seeing.
And on an average day, when you have good weather, what amount of visitors average you?
we came up with about 600 a month walking through, give or take. That comes from what he had presented. I know some stores get from this just from location, such as Mr. Caffey's. He gets a lot of business from the vendors in the mornings for sure, until the coffee's ready. But I can answer that with, we have just launched a community bingo, and we have 7 stores involved. They have to come to the market. People buy the bingo card at the market on Saturday. They have a week to go into all these different stores around to spend their money. They only get 1 stamp per visit unless they buy something, then they get 2 stamps. So we are trying to help in areas like that. I do a free water aerobics during the summer. That lets a lot of people come to us that don't have to go to Hutto. We just have so much. I can go on and on. But
Sure.
we don't have a specific way to track, no, sir, but I know that just by word of mouth, they do. And we have a meat guy at our market now, and if you have not tried their meat, you have to. It's delicious.
And one other question, if I may. You stated on your application you want the funds to do advertising.
Some.
And I guess I was concerned about that because in your presentation, and I may have misinterpreted it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you referenced that the funds may go to purchase a golf cart or something?
Of sort, if that's agreeable under hot funds. That's what our plans were, but if that's not agreeable under hot funds, we won't spend the money on that.
Okay. Thank you for answering. That's all
Yeah,
the
no.
questions I had.
No.
Is the intent of the money for the normal market, or is it for these 4 events that are
It is
listed?
for the entire market all year round, because we not only just hold markets and have it free, every single Sunday we're doing something to try and get more communities there. We had a sunflower Saturday that they came and got to plant their own sunflowers, and his is even growing at home, and they're so excited about it. Everything we do, we're going to have a fundraiser for Ashley's King horse people. We had bounce houses. It costs money to put on those things. So it is forever, but it is or not forever, for the year.
So is there, I investigated the Taylor Farmers Market a while back, trying to figure out how you get in there, who could come in, who couldn't. Do y'all have a set of rules?
We do. We have rules and regulations that you have to follow. However, we are not as strict as Taylor. If we were or held our market like theirs, we wouldn't have a market. We just checked on it today, and it's $50 this Saturday. Now,
No,
they get it.
No, I'm
They
not
get
talk-
it because
I'm not
it's
talking about
Taylor.
that. If,
Oh.
if I'm in there selling eggs, and Brad wants to come in there and sell eggs, do we both get to sell eggs, or I
You
was there
do.
first?
Nope, you get to sell eggs.
Eggs go quick.
Yep. The only, yeah. And the only vendor, there is a rule with the paparazzi vendor that they're only allowed to have one person at that market or at that place venue at a time. So paparazzi can't, but we allow everything else. Double if you want.
I don't know, what's paparazzi, you mean like the news people?
No, the jewelry, sorry.
It's jewelry.
That's funny, the news people. No, paparazzi jewelry, they're really cheap and good.
Okay.
I don't have it memorized, but I know the Hot Funds is a strict guideline.
It is,
It's advertising outsides at 50 miles.
yes.
Like that.
We're also trying to do a mailer to all of Rockdale because we still have so many people saying, oh, we didn't even know you were here. So we do Facebook, we do radio, we've done it all, but people have still said.
And the funds, I know you said nonprofit, I understand, correct?
Well, if you read.
The funds that are generated go to the individual vendors, and do those funds generated go to anyone else?
No, sir.
Owner of the park?
No,
Or,
sir.
I can't remember his name.
Nick,
Nick,
it
yeah.
is free of charge. He actually even has paid our insurance.
Oh, okay.
So that's all on him. We don't charge for the market. We don't collect any money from vendors. We ask for their sponsorship sometimes, but that's just to get their, get their name out more.
Right.
And you're going to pay for what is important to you, so.
Tim,
But we
have
don't want to have that on market.
Any money we raise, we roll right back into the market.
Yes.
Whether it's advertising or our next event coming up.
Like the bingo, the prizes are cash prizes.
Right.
So the sponsors just paid for the people to win money. We're not keeping that money.
I can't, have we done anything that's been continuous versus just an event that's on October 2nd or, May the 5th? I mean, something like that, is it?
So we have, and what you referenced earlier about the chambers, that's budgeted separately, the depot, that's budgeted separately out of hot funds, and those are eligible activities. We have the event funding, which has $50,000 in it for this year, that is generally for single events, where we're attracting people to the city, like for the fair or for the upcoming music festival, or for Rocktoberfest. Last year, they applied for funding from that for their Halloween bash.
Yes.
Their Halloween their Halloween fundraiser. Those types of things that are intended to bring people into the city for an event that will stay overnight, because the program is intended.
And then, like I said, then they
State.
record that event, they go to heads and beds, they find out
Yes.
how much it is. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying,
so
have
they-
we ever done an event, I don't recall, that's a continuing is it every weekend right now, basically?
It is. It's every weekend, March through December.
Yeah.
And the reason that we're asking for it all is because we couldn't apply for the visitor center for Rockdale because the chamber's not doing it. So I was trying to be the big person and ask the chamber and say, hey, you guys aren't doing this anymore. Would you mind if we did it? They said, no, that's not okay. The Train Depot needs their money. And I'm like, well, we had our money and they had their, that didn't fly with me. So I'm just like, we want it for the visitor center. We can't get it for the visitor center, so we're asking it for the whole.
And can it, I remember watching that video that time, the congressman going over how it's done, all the criteria it has to hit. Can it be an ongoing event, or does it have to be one that you can document that date, what all was brought in? Here's what the advertisement was for. There's so many people slept in the hotels, or are you gonna do it every week? Go to everybody.
If you can document the heads and beds, so an ongoing event that's daily or that's weekly, every Saturday is just going to be a little bit harder to.
Right.
Not a little bit. It's going to be extremely difficult to track exactly, whether people are coming in.
Well, let's be real. You're not putting heads in beds.
For them, no.
Selling eggs at the farmer's market.
No, you're not. But we're about to have an overnight market.
There was mention, that it actually generates day trips, and that's great. The fact
It
that
does.
It is what they're doing for the city of Rockdale is fantastic.
Thank you.
When she mentioned the fact that she asked if the city could pay for advertising separate from the hot funds, we can't just pay for a separate organization's advertising, and that's why I made the comment. No, we can't pay for your advertising.
Well, I wasn't asking you to pay for it.
But,
I didn't know it cost.
Let's stay focused.
I'm sorry.
Sit down, please.
So, go ahead.
I have some trepidation, and I'm just going to be real honest. And how this question is answered is going to be contingent on how I vote. Every organization in this community is represented by different people who are their leadership, whether it's the leadership of the market or the leadership of the venue. And there is some leadership within this family that has come together that puts out messages on social media that are absolutely disgraceful and toxic.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. That is not true. Emily Connolly is who he is talking about, who is on the video, which I saw him shake his head when the video was on, and she is not a part of the market. Could you please understand that?
I said
She's not
the
in
market
management.
and
She's
the
not.
business. She is a face of the business that
Listen
I see
to-
frequently.
I cannot take charge of her.
One sec, if we could just pause for a minute here, okay? Everyone take a deep breath.
The market is the market, a separate entity from Big Papa's. Big Papa's is not open when we're there. They are a total separate entity that will be open at a different time. We're only there from 9 to 1, and they're not open. So we can't restrict Emily and say, no, you can't come sell your plant.
Yeah.
No one's asking that.
But she is
There
not
is
part of
ways
the
that we
board.
can influence people who are in our sphere, and she is in your sphere. The attacks have been as high up as the mayor, other business owners, other citizens in this community. It has been totally inappropriate. I know that she's not with the market other than as a vendor, but I cannot untangle the two.
I understand that. Can I ask a question?
We are totally separate from her.
Yeah, we are completely separate from her.
We can't
But
control. We did go to her.
we've talked to her.
And we talked to her.
And we've told
we
her,
did tell her.
and she's calmed down. But, sir, the way you react to things is the way you react to things. Emily suffered her own truth, right? I'm not saying it's true. I'm saying what I know of what happened is true, but the rest of it, it's her truth. It's not mine to tell. It's not anybody else's to stop. It's her truth, and we're completely separate.
And it's unfair for the market to be punished
Yes,
for somebody we can't control.
yes.
At all. We can go to her and say,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes,
you get my point.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
can- We
Thank
can
you.
ask her all we want.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
But
you.
we're separate.
Thank you.
So,
Councilmember Perry? Do you have a question?
You say you're separate,
Yes.
she's tied to the venue.
To Big
How do you
Papa's.
separate?
Because on Saturday morning, Big Papa's is not open, and she is a vendor only on Saturday mornings.
And she's not there all the time either. She's a,
I don't do any social media,
So-
but I fortunately have some friends that share
Mm-hmm.
exactly what Dave's talking about.
right.
Did you see this? No, I
Could
didn't.
you imagine if more people did that, though, and called people out? I mean, I'm just saying, it's her
I don't have a
truth.
problem with the message.
It's her truth,
How
yeah.
you delivered it.
Absolutely, and we 100% agree.
We agree.
And
We were
I
like,
personally
I was
have a hard time
horrified.
getting on board because I also have a hard time separating myself,
Yeah.
separating the two when the message that is being delivered is delivered in the manner that it was.
I agree.
It's a hard pill for me to swallow.
I understand, but that's not fair to us, Lynn. That's not fair to us.
We are totally separate people. We did go to her and tell her how much it affected the market as a result of that. And she knows how hard we've worked in getting a good, positive name to the market, because that's what we want. We want a good, positive name. We want a good, positive place for everybody to go. And that's the reason I became involved. I've lived in Rockdale almost 5 years now and haven't gotten involved in anything except the market for the last year, because I believe in this. And I believe we can be positive. And when I go and talk to other vendors that are there, it may be a day that's slow, but we're all glad just to be there, just for some friendship and just to get out and enjoy the day
community.
and meet other people. So I never would have met you guys. I mean, it's not all come about, you know, and I
Put that
never,
aside,
yeah.
does it fit or not?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Does it fit the criteria fit?
My recommendation against funding for this project really didn't have anything to do with the issue that you're
Well,
talking about
sure.
now. It was the fact that what they're applying for does not necessarily meet what the intended purpose of the program was, and that is to put heads in beds. You know, there is a potential that some of their events could do that, but they didn't include in their application budgets for those individual events. And it was.
Because again, we were going for visitor
Yeah,
center.
and that's what I was gonna get at.
So
is
if they-
that
you
Our
know,
hands are
if they
tied
wanna
by what we
consider-
can do.
If they want to consider doing some kind of visitor center, you know, we could entertain that in next year's budget potentially if you all.
But we
want.
need it this year.
Is that
That's
not
why we're
happening
here.
anymore? Is there not a?
Chamber just quit, remember, they just, from one day to another, they quit. and
I
they
don't
picked
think
it
that
up.
ever.
So is there options for them to come back, say, on any of these events they want to do, like the vampires ball, like that I'm saying?
Well,
with
sure,
these in here?
but that's the point, we don't want to have to come back. Like,
Yes,
we would use this 10,000 for the entire year for
But we
all
don't know
of
if
the
we can do that
events.
legally. That's the,
Yes,
that's what I'm
they,
saying.
they could back and they could do that, and they could then provide a budget for that event on how they were gonna spend the money. They could ask for, and then project how many people that they would, how many heads and beds might be a result of that particular event, and then, you know, we could approve that, based on that, on those numbers. And if they were successful, similarly, what we did with the music festival, you know, he has a certain number of, I think he had 50 hotel rooms, I think it was. And so, you know, his award would be basically based on that prorated, so.
And I thought, didn't we decide everything was on a reimbursement?
We did.
Yes, it is.
So,
All of these grant funds are set up as reimbursement funds.
so we can't,
Even the visitor center is set up on reimbursement?
That is not part of the grant program.
Okay, but that's what we came in for, so can we just go for that tonight?
No. But the money budgeted for the visitor center is already allocated and under contract.
So let me ask a question. And Tim, you mentioned some very good points. George, you might want to listen to this. This is important to your request here. If the market came back with the dates of the events, the projected number of people that would stay in those events, during those events, if they had more accurate documentation based on this application, would it come closer to qualifying for the guidelines based on the distribution of the hot funds?
You said that more eloquently
So
than I.
as an example, you know, they could allocate $2,500 for each event. If they have 4 events, $2,500 for each event. After each event, they would have to provide documentation for the heads and bends that they were approved based on. So if you said, I'm gonna put in, you know, 10 people in hotel rooms or 15, you know, we just did the fair and they got $25,000 for 200 probably, heads and beds. So, you know, if you look at that as kind of a ratio, then, you know, you could figure out how much might be able to award for each, successful.
Right.
But yes, the answer to your question is yes.
But back to what you were saying to her about, to be clear, the money for the visitor center for this year has already been allocated.
Yes, it was.
It's not there.
Specifically, so
There's not there.
any money in the budget.
How many visitor centers do we have?
We have the chamber that acts as the visitor center, and they do that primarily digitally, and then we also have money for the Depot Museum. Is the Depot, yeah,
Depot.
the Depot.
Museum.
I just have a couple of questions, particularly, like, when would we need to do the visitor center request? Because we want, you know, if there's a deadline for that, I just want to make sure we know.
So I've already understand that. So as we
Right.
start putting the budget together next year, that will be a discussion that council have to have, whether they want to allocate
Great.
funding for that.
Okay, so we don't need to provide anything else to
Not
you to
not a
request
separate
that?
formal application for that.
So I have a question about hot funds when it asks you what number that you are going under. When we sat as a board and looked at all those things, we could have circled all of them and had our explanation for them. My question to you is hot funds, period, end of conversation, heads and beds, with any of those?
Legal ramifications to distribute hot funds is based on that, yes, ma'am.
So any of those things have to provide the heads and beds to get the hot funds?
Yes. I can't, I would have to ask legal counsel about that.
Well, that's why I'm asking,
Definitely
because
not
there were-
an attorney.
Right.
One of those would make the eligible list for our hot fund type application. But primarily, the number one overriding overall is heads and beds, and that's not necessarily, I mean, they play into all of this.
Oh, counsel, any other questions?
I have something to share.
Yes.
I think we all know what happened with the farmer's market, and
Yes.
we do appreciate that y'all picked that up and have built this, and I love it, and I love that it's, you know, the entrepreneurship for the young kids, a great place for people to hang out. Like, I love all those things, but at this point, a lot of damage has been done with the people that you guys are associated with, so I would maybe
Okay,
even
but who
encourage
has
you
it been done with?
to pick
The
a
city
different
council?
venue. It's just not a good look.
It's not, but it hasn't affected us.
And I'm sorry for that.
Yeah,
And-
that's
and-
like,
and that
that
and it's
sucks,
just-
because,
And it does. However, I would maybe even encourage you to find a different venue. I think at one point we had talked about having it out here. I don't know what else to say. And I'm so
I think
sorry,
that there's
it's not
gonna
your
be a
fault.
problem with any place that we go. Someone's gonna have something to say, right? We're happy, our vendors are happy, we're gonna stay there, and Emily's gonna come around.
And I think we do want to support you. I just don't know if the hot funds is a way to do that.
What's the,
Is there another way we can
Well, that's
support
what we're saying
them?
about how we come back on those four
Can we
items
do
and see if you
something
can do
different?
them. I mean, try, you know.
And that's what, when we had our meeting with Mr. Kelty, we also asked him, is there anything else that we can ask the city for help with? Is
And
there
maybe-
anything
and-
else?
And I
And he said
suggested
no.
that if they get us the, information, we can put it on our website and our calendar for their activity, for their events that they're doing. We
Which-
can help promote it that way.
I mean, but unfortunately, like y'all said, this is more of a day trip thing. Is it realistic that they're gonna get hot heads in beds?
Well, that's why I was asking if the whole entire
I
thing
don't
was
think
heads
that's
in
gonna
beds.
work.
It is a lot of work.
I mean, it's a lot of work, but I don't know if you guys are gonna get the money that you need by providing heads in bed, cause
Yeah.
it's a day trip type
Right.
of event. So can we get creative and find a different way to support the farmer's market?
There's ways we can support them from a publicity standpoint, from a potentially a labor standpoint. We can't really spend public dollars on that event. She had asked if we could buy them a golf cart. And we-
No,
I said,
we
I
didn't.
said, if you
Well,
guys
I get that, cause
had
I did visit when they had their grand opening and I just had knee surgery and I had a hard time going up
Yes.
those hills, so.
Well, Lucita fell.
And-
We all, yeah, it happens.
And I see why you would do that. So it's not a laughing matter for me, especially for mobility issues. So
Yes.
I get the golf cart situation, but I don't think this is not where we're gonna be able to support you.
Yeah.
So I don't know what we need to do to.
Oh, well, you have a few options. It could die for lack of a motion. You could make a motion and pass it. You could table it to do further research.
I do recommend coming back and trying those events and saying that isolated ones out and see if we can pass it. But like I said, we can only do what the law says we can do. That's the whole thing.
So, but we
Is
can
there-
group them, say a couple on the same,
I'm not speaking like legally for, I'm just saying
or do
about
we have
that.
to do different?
You could do all four of them at the same. It just would require four separate budgets.
Okay,
Four
okay.
different, all the dates and the information, and
Okay.
then the award, if it was awarded entirely, the distribution of it would come after each event,
Okay.
a portion of it. And how much you're asking, maybe, if you're asking for $10,000, maybe there's $3,000 for one event, $1,000 for another event.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you have to indicate how it's allocated.
Will our coming back for any of these events have any of the same reaction with Emily still being at the market?
Ask that question again, I'm sorry.
Will us coming back, asking for individual, have any effect on will your answers have any effect on the fact that Emily is at the market? I mean, do we really need to waste your time or ours?
Are these events, the four that you have listed here in the bullet points, are those happening at the same place? Is that-
No, the barn dance isn't.
No, and then we're looking for a different venue for the Halloween one.
So the Friday evening, Sunday morning Market Fest and the Christmas market are,
Yeah, those are our two charging markets. So the overnight one is first for us. We're doing it to get heads and beds because we were hoping to come here tonight and get this and show you that we know what we need to do to show it to you. We're also doing a barn dance held out at somebody's house on 908. And then we just haven't planned that far in advance because we didn't know we were gonna have to come up with 4.
Right. But we have discussed doing the Halloween at a different location.
And a different style.
Yeah, different style, different location. That would not be over there.
I will answer your question. As of right now, no, it wouldn't have an effect on me. But between now and you come back and I get one more friend showing me a text that comes out with her name on it, and it says what it said in the past, absolutely it will.
I
She
can't-
is-
Hey,
she is
it's her
detrimental
truth
to
and
what you're
that's
trying to
your,
do.
it's your truth and it's her truth, so I get that. I
I
appreciate
don't mind
it.
the message. I
I
mind the
understand.
delivery method.
I understand.
Facebook is.
I can tell you how I feel about you without using the language that she
Absolutely.
used.
Again, it was just her truth and how she handled her hurt.
It's undermining what you're trying to do.
I understand, but she's not a part of the market. She makes no decisions. She's a vendor. If I tell her no, what, then we have to tell other people no if we found out they were doing? I just don't understand that. I understand the detriment she is causing to the community just along with you guys as the city council. But how is that our fault? She's just a vendor. If she wasn't a vendor, would it make a difference?
No, I'm just answering her question.
Because like, she's still Big Papa no matter what we do.
Okay.
Big Papa said free, we're like, yeah, because Cardinal closed down. We need free, we need big, we need bathrooms, we need so much, and they offered it to us. Not once did I think, oh, Emily, shut your mouth. And she doesn't care that I'm using her name because she wants her name to be out there as her being the one that tells that truth.
Councilman,
I'm very disappointed that your judgments against us would be because of what she's doing.
My judgment is not in any way based on that. I was simply trying to say that we all have people who are in our sphere of influence. And if if you, ma'am, if you would just, to tell me that we'd like to continue to try to have conversations with Emily about the unhealthiness of that. That's what, I wasn't wanting all the defensiveness and this. I just think that it's just not a good look for our whole community, let alone just the market. And we all have truths, we all have hurt, we all have pain, but there's just ways and mediums to express that.
And Facebook
You are absolutely correct. So I would never vote no because I want to support the market. I want to see the market succeed. I've made it known that it's just, I'm at a stage in life where I'm not a shopper there, but I've encouraged people to go there and all that kind of stuff. It has nothing to do with that. I just hope that you guys will continue to use your positive influence to just try to soften that up or eliminate it.
We need to move on.
We are
Before
trying.
Liz make a motion, but I want everybody to understand, the reason we're saying no has nothing to do with what everybody's talking about. It's about the
we get it.
criteria legally.
Right.
We can't
Well,
just
it
go
was for him.
and throw money out. The hot funds are very strict. That's why we're saying, come back, please, do it, the 4, whichever ones you want to do. Let's get another roll at it. I mean, we'd love to see that go with Bloom, prosper. It's a great event. It has nothing, the no is not because of that. It's
Well, I
about-
understand, but
we-
the
we
no
can only
is
do what we can
because,
do.
I understand what you're saying
Okay,
and
so
I
make sure
trust
everybody
you.
understands that.
But they've already said that they would vote the same way. You specifically sat there and said you would say no if you've heard one more thing.
You see how nicely I portrayed my truth?
Yeah. No, I understand that.
Yeah, we.
We're not all like that.
I'm gonna give council, I appreciate it, yes, but I'm gonna give council the opportunity to take any action you want to take right now.
I make a motion that we accept staff recommendation to not approve the request for hot funds for item 12.
Yeah,
Is it 13?
no, it's 12.
It's item 12, isn't it?
Yes.
Have a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second on the floor to not approve the request for hot funds based on the recommendation of staff. Is there any discussion? No discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of the motion to not approve signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
And please try it again.
When can we come back? Because
Next month.
I think next meeting.
Come on.
Okay.
Next meeting.
Okay.
And you under, I just want to make sure,
Move very quickly.
understand the criteria.
10 days or
need.
so,
We will try.
because of the fact that normally.
And
it's supposed to be
would,
application
I
30
would
days.
encourage you, as you're preparing that criteria,
Yes, sir.
if you're unsure that it does or does not meet the need, please call Tim, okay? And if you don't get what you need out of Tim, call me. I don't think you will, I know you will get what you need, but just make sure before you bring it to present, questions, thoughts, you have it all.
Can I make one more suggestion? Instead of doing all four of them at one time, do them one at a time, so that if there's a reason, all four of them don't get kicked out.
We can concentrate that I see on two. So we'll,
Whichever one's coming first,
Yes.
do it first, and let's
Okay.
perfect it, and then go nail the other three.
we just thought once we came, we had to wait 6 months to come back.
No.
So that's all. Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, let's see, item 13 on the agenda, consider to take any necessary action on the appointment of the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term expired in February 2024. Tim?
So we had at the last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, we had 2 candidates that the Planning and Zoning Commission interviewed, and they are recommending Dustin Higdon. And he would fill a 3-year term that expires on 2027, so we're partially into that term.
Jamie was here earlier.
She left like.
The lady.
And that vacancy is there due to the resignation of Leslie Davidson.
So,
Dustin?
so I have a quick question. I thought there was multiple spots on P and Z that were needing to be filled.
So we had filled
Jason
one,
Marchek's
we've filled a couple over the last, at this point right now, there's one, and there may be another one.
It could be if Mr. Willie gets elected as your official for city council, there'll be another opening coming up.
And what
Oh,
happened to
Daniel Weber.
Barczyk's seat?
I'm sorry?
Did y'all fill Barczyk's seat?
Jason
So
Bartlett.
yes, we filled one, the council appointed one a couple months ago, and he was he'd been at the last couple of meetings. Bud Houston was appointed,
Okay,
and so that just leaves one.
That's right, we got Bud in, yeah.
okay.
And
It
there were
looks
2 applicants, Ms. Jamie Mendoza was the other applicant.
Yes, she was here earlier, I believe. And it looks like we have a recommendation from the sitting commissioners to appoint Dustin. Is that, am I reading that correctly?
To appoint Dustin, yes.
That's out of the 2 interviews, the score.
I'll make a motion that we take the P and Z Commission's recommendation to appoint Dustin Higdon
I'll second that.
Higdon?
to fill the term of Leslie Davison for the 3-year term.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second on the floor to take the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation to appoint Dustin Higdon to fill the expired position on the board, or the vacant position on their board. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thanks for stepping up.
Thank you for being willing to participate. Do appreciate it. Item 14, consider to take any necessary action on awarding the janitorial bid to WCD Enterprises for the city offices. Tim?
So Shanna put together a request for proposal, and our current janitorial contract was expiring. We were looking for someone to provide janitorial services here at City Hall, at the library, the Patterson Center, and the wastewater treatment plant. Is there anywhere else? Those 4 locations. The police department has their own, and they're already, they're under a current contract. So we went out for bid. Staff interviewed the candidates and reviewed the bids and are recommending WCD Enterprises. And it actually ends up saving the city money under that contract.
I got a quick question. It might be a typo or I'm not just reading it right. It says currently that the Patterson Center the floors are waxed, buffed quarterly at 1921, or is that supposed to be yearly at 1921?
Quarterly.
And then this one's gonna do it yearly for 1995?
No, quarterly. Is that right? Is that, it still is, it's actually done as necessary, as needed, but generally they were doing it quarterly. So And I thought, when I saw that, I thought, that's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money. I've never buffed them. I'm sure it's a lot
Everybody
of
that
work,
bid,
but I'm like,
did a similar amount for stripping, or for
by the time you do
stripping
that
and waxing.
in a
that.
year, do we get that much revenue out of that? We get our money back on the
It
floor.
only needs to be done once.
That's a lot of dancing on there.
The fire station gets done once a year, and I think to do the fire station meeting room's about $900. I don't know why we're doing it once a quarter here.
Schools do
We'll
it.
probably reduce the amount of time, the number of times that it gets done.
I think you'd be safe to do it once a year.
That was an alternate part of the bid as as needed.
And they've all agreed, which I know we're being recommended at WCD, is to hire local employees, correct, to do the work. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm just curious why the library is so much more. It's just a lot more work, huh, to clean it?
More floor space.
Is that what it is? Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Council, any other questions? Entertain action on this item?
I'll make a motion that we approve WCD Enterprises for the cleaning contract as staff recommended. I'd like to make sure that there's one clarification to them, that it's only annually on the stripping of the Patterson Center, waxing and stripping of the Patterson Center, because that's liable to affect their bid if they say, wait a minute, we don't get to do this every quarter. So, and
Okay.
that's way too
I
often.
understand. And it was done as a separate line
Separate line item.
item, separate from their bid, so.
But it was advertised as quarterly, kinda. So just clarify that.
Okay.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second on the floor, is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor said motion, signify, motion passes. Item 15 is a public hearing, conduct a public hearing on zoning ordinance amendments regarding chapter 14 zoning section 1402-004, definition sections 1402-072, allowed use table, and section 1402-124, conditional use permits. It's 6:57 PM. I will now open the public hearing on agenda item 15. Tim?
Just generally, so what we're doing, a couple things here, establishing that under the, adding a couple things to the allowed use table. This is an amendment to the zoning ordinance, that's why it requires a public hearing. But under the allowed use table, we've made some changes to mini storage warehouses, so basically along the 79 corridor, any mini storage warehouses would not be approved by right, they'd have to actually come and get approved individually by council. And then the personal professional services, there's some limitations on those, and there's a new definition for personal professional services.
Well, you're saying that before somebody can build a mini storage, they have to get approval first? Is that what you were saying?
Yes,
On 79?
on 79.
Is it just 79?
It's your commercial corridor, which is mostly 79.
And this item really encompasses the public hearing 15 and agenda items 16 and 17, correct?
The public
Yeah.
hearing requirement is for,
Yes, this is public hearing, and we'll, if nobody wants to speak, then we can get into the action items, and I can go more in detail.
So the next two are the action items?
yeah, so it covers 16 and 17.
Okay.
What is personal professional services?
I'm sorry?
What does that
That's
stand?
what I was gonna ask. I was like,
What's personal? I mean, I've got ideas, they're probably not right. Personal professional
Go ahead,
services.
detail of that question.
You up on it?
When the public hearing is closed, we
Yes,
can get
does
into it.
anybody prefer to speak during the public hearing phase?
Sorry, Joyce, you should have heard that.
If you'd like.
How's it going? I'm Dustin Higdon. I live at 649 North Main Street for about 2 years now. So this is my amendment proposal to allow personal professional services in the allowed use table. So personal professional services, one thing we were doing is adding a definition that includes the essentially healthcare services. So these would be licensed services that fit into personal professional services. So to break that down, it will allow essentially, so I'm a massage therapist, massage therapy instructor, and have been for 5 years now, but also estheticians, chiropractors, counselors, psychologists, different things that work well in a residential area and add to the community and should be more intertwined and integrated, rather than, in a commercial setting, such as like franchise spas and more salesy things, as opposed to the actual like healthcare centered professional services. Yeah.
So would
This would allow it?
this would allow people to perform these type of professional services in their home?
No, so there's
Or a business could set up in the residential area to perform these?
So certain ones of these services are already actually allowed by state law in your own home. This would be to actually open a business in the community. So much like we have the Camrock Clinic and the other primary care physician that's located pretty integrated in the neighborhood, it would be something similar to that. Anybody that has like their own haircut or hairstylist like business can technically open up in a room in their house, and they're dictated by TDLR, and so that's what, as it stands right now, I can have a massage business in one of my rooms in my house, but I would like to have like an actual clinic that centers around the healthcare services.
So for an example, so if somebody living on Francine Street or something, I'm trying to think of the ones that are not Main, like Murray. Highland. I don't know where that came from, no. But Brazos, they could do a barber shop out of their house.
So in your allowed use table, you have a list of allowed home occupations. And so what this code is doing is adding personal professional services. As not allowed by right, it would be a conditional use permit that would come on an as requested basis to city council. So you would have their business plan. You already have a section of your code that has certain limitations on home occupations, as in they can never be open to the public and they can only have one external customer. So
By appointment only.
that's right. It would be by appointment because it's not open. So you'd have to call and request a haircut at 10:30 a.m.
That's how
on
it is
Francine
now?
Street. That's right.
But you would have to have a permit to be able to.
We're proposing to change that, and we'll get into that after this public hearing is over, that I'll go over the changes to the use table in your conditional use permit section.
This is for in-home occupations, whatever that in-home occupation might be. You can't be open to the public, but you can have single clients over by appointment at one at a time, whatever that might be, whether it's a woodworking in your garage or whatever might be allowed. I don't even know what is allowed.
Okay, anybody else like to speak during the public hearing phase? Anyone else prefer to speak during the public hearing phase? I'm going to close the public hearing on this agenda item at 7:02 p.m. And we will move on to item 16 on the agenda, is consider take any necessary action on the first reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance section 1402.124 conditional use permits. Ben?
Okay, so this is going to be the first section that you'll see after the public hearing. What this is doing is currently our conditional use permits list every use that is allowed to obtain one, and then if you're not listed, you can't ask for one. It doesn't coincide with our adopted allowed use table. So what I've proposed, you'll see in your packet, is I've taken out the listed uses and I've referenced our allowed use table. So what that does is we don't have to keep updating this ordinance every time we add or remove or amend a use to the use table. It will coincide with each other. And if there is a C in the use table that stands for conditional uses, then they have to come to city council and request your permission to operate.
So somebody cutting hair in the neighborhood right now, it's allowable, but they have to come get a permit to do so?
Is it hair barbershop allowed? Do we have personal?
Or say therapy.
We have
whatever. It doesn't have to be, that might get into a health issue. I'm just our therapy or,
Yeah, so currently on the allowed use table, we have home occupations as its own use, and barber shops are allowed by right, so they don't have to come in for a conditional use permit for a home occupation. They're also allowed by right in commercial as well. So we're not requiring every home occupation to come for a conditional use permit. We can if that's something that council is interested in. But you have a section of the code that we're not amending that regulates those businesses. So when staff gets phone calls about someone operating a business, they're subject to those parameters within that ordinance, which is not being open. You can't change the residential aesthetic of your property, and you have to only allow one external customer at a time.
Council, any other questions?
And?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
I'd like to sign up for my massage.
Again.
So essentially what the ordinance is doing is what's currently allowed is somebody does not have to ask you guys for permission to run a barber shop, for example, out of their home. What it will look like is they will have one chair and one client and one person cutting their hair, which is going to be the homeowner that's running a side business out of their house.
If this passes, that would be allowed.
That's already allowed
That's
by
already
a use
allowed,
table. That's
but
right.
not under conditional use.
That's right. It's not required conditional use. What we're doing today on this section is your conditional use permit section listed about 10 uses or so and said you have to fit this criteria to obtain a conditional use permit. Everybody else cannot get one. But your use table says something different. And so I'm just trying to clean that up to where everything is the same.
And I see it's staff recommendation to approve the first reading.
That's right.
That's correct?
So right now, you can do it, and we're gonna clean up to where you have to get a permit or,
You'll see that in your next section where we actually get into the use table. What this ordinance before you is doing is just cleaning the conditional use permit section to refer to the allowed use table. If there's a C in the allowed use table anytime in the future, if it's not now and it's in the future, we don't have to update this every single time, is my goal with
but
this
as of
ordinance.
now, I keep saying, right now, they can do it. They can, somebody can have a barber shop in their house.
Right now, it's allowed by right, yeah,
Okay.
in the use
All right.
table.
You have to have an occupation.
Council, any
We
other
keep picking on
questions?
barber shops, it doesn't have to be a barber shop, it can be anything.
Questions? Action? First reading? Action on the first reading?
Well, I'll make a motion that we accept, item 16 as read. Is this the first reading as read?
Okay.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Item 17, consider and take any necessary action on the first reading of an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance, section 14.02.004 definitions and section 14.02.072 allowed use table for mini storage warehouses and personal professional services. Ben.
Okay, this is where we're going to get into what's allowed by right, what's not. And so you'll see first after your
Yeah.
memo page.
Everybody understands they
It's the
got
new
a,
one,
they
right?
got a new one. The one in your packet's been superseded.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have the use table.
All right, go ahead, Ben.
So it should be the second page, you should see ordinance highlighted in yellow, if we're all looking at the same thing. That's the proposed. I wanted to tell you guys what the definition is of personal professional services first, in case you have questions. This was actually received from Dustin. I thought it was a pretty good definition, so I used it. And what it says is personal professional services are a healthcare service provided directly to an individual by a licensed professional, focusing on personalized assessment, diagnosis, treatment, and management of their health conditions. Examples include estheticians, speech and occupational therapists, dietary counselors, and more. And we put the and more in there just so we don't have to list every licensed. If somebody comes in with a different license, we don't have to amend the ordinance. It just leaves that gray area in there that you kind of want. That's the proposed definition. We can discuss that if you would like. And then the other changes that were made is Tim referred to many storage warehouses are currently allowed by right in your commercial and industrial districts. All staff has done is just propose to require them to have a conditional use permit. If they want to expand their business or if they want to create a new business, they'll have to bring a plan to council and show you what their development's going to look like and have to receive your approval.
On 79 or anywhere in the city limits?
On commercial corridors and industrial corridors, which is mostly 79.
And that also would cover existing facilities that want to add on or modify.
That's right.
Okay.
It's a similar of how you did the RV parks when you remove them from your table. they can exist as is, so they're legal non-conforming now. For example, main storage warehouses, if you change this ordinance, they don't have a conditional use permit, but they were already in operation. So they can stay in operation as is, but if they want to expand and add more units, then they have to bring a conditional use permit
They wouldn't actually be legally
request.
non-conforming at that point because of the fact that they have received a valid permit to be there.
Yeah.
What if an existing mini storage warehouse exchanges ownership?
They have a certificate of occupancy already, and say they will not have to renew that.
Okay.
And so as long as they don't expand and have to get a new certificate of occupancy, you won't have to see them for a conditional use permit.
Electric meter doesn't trigger that?
No, not typically. It's usually a major change. If you're gonna do like a complete rewire, then you'll get a new certificate of occupancy, but minor alterations / repairs don't require that.
Council,
And-
any other questions? Entertain any action on the first reading. Agenda item 17. Ben, what was your recommendation? I'm sorry.
So the planning commission is actually recommending approval of this. I just want to highlight one other thing. I've highlighted everything in red that were already in your table. I've just changed S's to C's. I talked to the planning commission about this. We use two different ways to describe a conditional use permit. One of those ways was not defined, so I've just cleaned it up to where everything says conditional use permits. So that way, if you don't know what that is, you can go in our definition section and understand what that means. So you'll see changes in the use table. I didn't change anything that was allowed by right or that required a special use permit before. I've just changed the lettering so that way it reflects your ordinance.
So you were saying earlier they can't change the face of the house or anything?
That's right,
like
they
that?
can't change
So that mean
the-
they can't put a sign out there in their yard?
I believe there's a sign, but it's a really small sign that they would be allowed. I'd have to look at what the requirement is.
Hey,
But it-
Ben, on personal professional services, it doesn't list anything for commercial district. Was it intended that?
So there's two
wouldn't-
sections. The first we put under the home occupation section, which you'll see highlighted in blue.
Oh, right, okay.
And then if you keep going throughout, there's actually a commercial section, and then there should be another highlight where it's allowed by right in commercial.
Council, any other questions? Entertain any action on agenda item 17, the first reading.
Does doing this create any more policing from the city?
Or compliance?
Yeah, are we putting any burden, are we adding burden to the city right now by doing anything that we're doing here?
No, because this is stuff that we have to look at anyways. Since you've adopted the allowed use table, staff has to make sure that people operating businesses that are allowed within the city. And so if somebody currently was operating a massage therapy out of their home illegally that wasn't allowed, then they would get a notice from staff. So all you're doing is you're actually adding a little bit more work to yourself with these conditional use permits of you would review what staff would typically only review, and then you would give that approval instead of staff, is the only difference.
And would that be one thing would that go to P and Z to first do, or does that
P
come
and
straight?
Z usually would give you a recommendation on that. They would take the blunt of that, and then they would give you a report usually of what that's gonna look like. And then, of course, the applicant will be here because council's directed them to, and you can hear from themselves and make your decision. But you'll at least have a report from planning commission.
Well, they were asking for more to do, that's why I was hoping that.
Welcome, Dustin.
Great. Well, I'll move that we accept the planning commission's recommendation and approve line item 17 as read.
I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion is second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Item 18, consider and take any necessary action on recommendations by the city council regarding a short form subdivision submitted by Martin Gutierrez for property located at 801 Shelton into 2 lots. Ben. Or
Okay.
Tim. Oh, Ben, I'm sorry.
I will go over this one with you. So plats are ministerial typically, and they have to be approved because they meet all of your codes. But I want to point out that this one does not, so therefore it does not have to be approved, and I want to tell you why. So I've highlighted, you'll see in your packet there's a bigger image. This is probably the most difficult plat I've ever had to read in my short career so far. And in this small section here that is more zoomed in on your packet, they're proposing what's called a permanent access easement, which what that means is that 30-foot section would have access to lot 2A permanently. So that house could then access onto Shelton Street. The reason that this doesn't meet your ordinance is because you require a lot frontage of a minimum of 70 foot along a right-of-way. And with this proposed access easement, it will only be 30 foot, which would not be 30-foot lot frontage. So therefore, you do not have to approve it. I will tell you that there used to be a structure on this lot, and I talked to Mr. Gutierrez about it. They wanted to build another one. I told them that they are going to have to go through this plating process because currently that property is landlocked, how it is. Because there is actually a house that sits on this lot here, right in front of them, on the right-of-way. And so
The unhatched square there, where there's a 5 in the middle of
yes,
it?
where the 5 is.
Okay.
That there is a house there. The other thing that I have not had a chance to talk to Mr. Gutierrez about that I'm not sure if he was aware of is I've colored a light blue within that section you'll see in this area here. That's within a floodplain.
Where?
This area here, this very light blue. You have another, give me another one.
Your pointer's not pointing.
Yeah. I'll point it up here.
There you
Right
go.
in this area.
Oh, wrong.
Is this light blue? All of this is actually within a floodplain. And so that means he has to build to a different standard. It's doable, but it's just he would hire a floodplain engineer to assist him in building in that.
But would the decision, if made either way tonight, would that have bearing on that request as well? Yes or no?
If you do not approve this tonight, then it's not a developable lot, is the answer to that question.
And what's staff's recommendation on this?
Staff would recommend to approve this. Because
You said
this,
that in haste.
Yeah, you didn't like it.
Well, we've had one, it's in haste because we've had one we've approved before that was similar to this because it was the only way that that lot could get access. Since this was an existing use that they're trying to bring into conformance, I would suggest to approve it because if we don't, then he cannot have a structure on that lot that was previously there. I was hesitant just because it's in a floodplain. That is, you're open.
How long has it been since there was a structure there that was occupied?
An occupied structure has been a long
When
time.
Mr. Gutierrez purchased this lot, was he aware of this situation?
I don't think so.
How long has he owned the lot?
He's owned it for quite some time, and recently, probably 6 months ago, they talked about tearing the structure down, and that's when we started this conversation. And I think that's when he learned about the access issues. I don't think he previously had an idea on that, because it was all under one ownership, so they would share that access. But in plating standards, you always have to assume the worst, and you have to assume that it's going to be two neighbors that don't want each other on each other's property.
Thanks, Ben.
So there's a little 30-foot section that's gonna go, it's gonna be an easement.
It's going to be an easement, and so it will just look like their yard. They can improve it as a drive if they choose to.
Not a public easement, it'd be a
It'd
jointly
be-
owned by him and.
That's
and-
right.
And the property that it's on.
Both properties are going to access that easement for their access on Shelton because he's right on the corner.
And they will bear, as most easements are, those easements are responsible of the owners of the easement to.
That's right.
To maintain. Yeah.
Is that the same spot that there's an electrical easement already?
Yeah, you'll see the highlighted in yellow. There's a small portion of the electrical easement within that.
Can you do that?
You can. It's just like driving over it. You know, it's just if they improve it, they have to be aware that they could have to tear some concrete up if the electric company needs to get in there for whatever reason.
What is the relationship between Mr. Mendoza and the primary property owner that has access on Shelton?
I presented that idea and I didn't receive an answer, so I assumed it was not. Because I figured the easiest way would be creating an easement where they would just share it with Lot 5. This one doesn't work either.
Currently, does that property owner own that property where the shared access easement is being established?
So Lot 1A and 2A are the same ownership, and then the number 5 designation, the lot to the south, is a completely separate owner.
and Mr. Mendoza owns the separate lot.
Mr. Gutierrez
Or
owns
Gutierrez.
Lot 1A and 2A, but he does not own the lot to the south, which is designated as a 5 on the plat.
So he wants to be able to sell number 2 or build on number 2.
I assumed he wanted to build, but
Develop.
if you approve this, he could sell it as well. But it will be a developable lot if you approve it as is. They would just be developing to floodplain standards instead of just normal site-built homes would.
2 is in a floodplain as well?
Lot 2A is, only a small portion of Lot 1A is, so the structure that's on 1A is only partly affected by the floodplain, but if they build on 2A, the whole structure will be affected as it covers the whole lot.
I'm sorry, I don't see where 2A is. I see it.
Number 2
Yeah,
Just a
it's
2?
small, it's a 2, but it's supposed to be 2A.
Okay,
Yeah, this is a really hard plat to read.
okay.
Council, any other questions for Ben? I'll entertain any action on this agenda item
I move
18.
that we accept the planning commission's recommendation and approve line item 18 as read.
Second, but do we need to clean that up? That they need to adhere to these 3 bullet points, Esme?
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you. Can you add that, Shannon?
Do you want to add to your motion that
Yes.
if this passes, in regards to compliance, the landowner has to comply with the 3 bullet?
The 3 conditions, correct the rear
conditions.
building setback line to 15 instead of 14, correct the notary date from 2024 to 2025, add language that dedicates the 30 permanent access easement in perpetuity.
I'll second that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of said motion, signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben. Agenda item 19, consider and take any necessary action on the first reading of an ordinance amending Article 1.10, quote, cemetery of the Code of Ordinances. Tim?
So the cemetery committee has been meeting since January. They've had about 4 meetings to go over the ordinances that control I'm sorry, the wrong section. That control the maintenance and use of the cemeteries in the city. And they have updated a lot of that. This is reflects those changes, and they're recommended, that they are recommending. Primarily, the big change, I mean, a lot of it was cleanup, but the changes that were highlighted include the outlawing curbing in the newer sections of the cemetery. That was a big change. And the placing of monuments and requiring that contractors that did work in there be approved by the city, so that just somebody couldn't just show up and do work without the city being aware of it and knowing that they were a valid contractor. But most of the stuff was just to ensure that the cemeteries were maintained aesthetically, that there was control and best management practices in place. And that committee included Mr. Lucky and who all is on the cemetery committee?
Mary Lou, Ford, Paul Lucky, Stephen Jones,
Joyce Dally.
yeah,
Joyce.
and then,
Yes. So these regulations hadn't been updated in some time, and so this is what we are recommending. And then in the next section, in the next item, there's also a change to the fee schedules for the sale of cemetery lots.
So do the fee schedules kind of align us, get us up to where they need to be for today's standards? Is that basically all we did is built inflation into the?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The ordinances, and they're actually both by ordinance, so they're both first readings.
So I had a couple, I saw y'all did say y'all did call around or compare. Quick question. residential and non-residential, so there is different fees for people who live in Rockdale and people who don't live in Rockdale?
Yeah, so there used, in the current fee schedule, there's actually a different fee if you live here than if you don't live here. But from the input that we received from the committee was that it really didn't necessarily matter because of the fact that if you lived here and you moved away and you wanted to be buried here, or maybe that you lived here and your mom and dad lived in Cameron or in Austin, and you wanted them buried close by, it still it really didn't matter, and that was kind of unusual. So
Well, the reason I asked that, because there's a family cemetery that my family's part of out in the country, and I'm not saying it happens a lot. I know it's been brought up over the last few years that people from other cities that don't even know anything about this area, when they find out the difference in the rates, they come here.
that's why we raised the rates.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, that they don't know anything about this area. They just hear it's cheaper, and they'll just go plant papaw right there. Kind of blunt, but that's how it happens.
And we're still relatively affordable, but based on the size of the cemetery and the condition and its organization, it's what they felt was acceptable and sellable, and so, but it did increase quite a bit.
So listen, this is the first reading.
Yes, sir. On both.
Does that take a vote?
Ready?
I'll do it.
Any other questions? Discussion?
And if you want to save time, you could probably make a motion on both ordinances at the same time.
Let's make sure we understand both ordinances here, council. You have the right to do that.
What's the second?
What he's referring to is item 20, which is considered taking any necessary action on the first reading of an ordinance amending Article A3.100, other fees by amending cemetery-related fees in Article A3-008, cemetery in the code and ordinance. So you could essentially make a motion pass the first reading of both of those items.
Well, I'll make a motion that we pass the ordinance as read on 19 and 20, items like 19 and 20.
I'll second that.
Motion is second on the floor in regards to agenda items 19 and 20, the first reading of an ordinance on both these agenda items. Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Being none, we'll vote. All in favor of said motions for both items signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Agenda item 21. Consider to take any necessary action on the wastewater reservation agreement with Sandow Lakes Ranch. Tim?
Thank you. And Alan is here to answer any questions.
Hello, Alan.
And, but this is something we've been working on for a number of months. This agreement it's the first step basically in working collaboratively with Sandow Lakes Ranch for the extension of wastewater services and infrastructure to service a 1,200 unit development. And under the terms of the agreement, basically we're putting a reservation of 420,000 gallons a day of treatment, of our treatment capacity for basically for 2 years while we work out the details of an actual treatment contract. But the agreement itself does lay out some general terms for that treatment contract, including that SLR would be solely responsible for the costs associated with the design and construction of the improvements necessary to transmit the waste from that development to our treatment plant, including cost to improve our own existing infrastructure to make that happen. And that infrastructure that cost is going to be paid for by the MUD. So they would have to be able to have that ability under the agreement. The infrastructure would be owned by the MUD in order for that to happen. For off-site transmission lines, the city would review all plans and specifications to be constructed. And then finally, the agreement, basically, that reservation would remain in place for 5 years, and then it would be based on the actual flow, a formula that is based on the actual flow from the development. And we are looking at charging them 1.5 times our residential rate for the treatment of their residential. So it would be good from the city from a revenue standpoint.
Our
capacity currently at the treatment plant is 1.25 million gallons a day, and our current average daily flow is about 380,000. So we do have capacity to do
We're at 30% capacity currently, right?
that. Yes, approximately.
That's my question, is that along with, does this factor in, of course, Cornerstone and
Yes.
future, whatever the,
So
Republic
with this develop-
Ridge?
So with this development and Cornerstone and Republic Ridge, we will be, once all that happens, we will have to look at expanding the treatment plant.
And is that where their cost comes in?
So the $10,000 that I'm asking them to pay for the reservation agreement will help pay for the feasibility study for that expansion. The revenues that generates is gonna be pretty significant, and so that will help pay, that will also help pay for the expansion of the plant.
I don't understand. I'm having trouble making the math. We got 320,000 gallons a day coming in. We're gonna add 1,200 homes, up to 1,200 homes, with another capacity of 420,000 gallons per day.
That comes from a TCEQ formula.
I did some research on it, I found that same formula. But how does, even if you add Republic Ridge on there, we're still not even bumping anywhere close to 1.25 million gallons a day
Capacity,
capacity.
maximum.
Well,
So I'm trying to make sure what our threshold really is before it starts triggering added.
the triggering, is it 70% or 80%, 90%?
I believe it's 70%. You have to begin, planning.
Engineering.
For upgrade. At 80%, you have to do the engineering, and at 90%, you have to be. breaking
Under
ground.
construction.
Something in that neighborhood.
So, and the fact is that it is likely that we'll have another, we could have another residential development by the end of the year, based on the announcements from SLR. So,
Is that measured off of actual flow? Your percentages, if you're at 70%, is that off of actual flow? Because surely we got more than 1,200 homes right now coming into that thing, and we're only at 300 and.
so that's why it will
20,000
be,
gallons.
it is calculated based on both, yeah, go ahead.
It's not gonna be 1,200 homes, it's 1,200 living unit equivalents, so that's gonna include businesses and other things. Could be a motel, whatever, but it's a 1,200 living unit equivalent, so it might not be, all homes. So that's why we use the formula for the TCQ.
Right, so it's equivalent to 1,200 homes. I understand what you're saying, but our requirement, the triggering factor is both our existing flow and our committed future flow. So the 420,000 would count towards that limitation. That's why it will be important after we actually start receiving flow from that, when it's built out. It's based on a formula, not on the, go ahead.
One more thing, and they're not gonna, if I understand the way the contract or the agreement's been written, they won't be controlled by the 1,200, they'll be controlled by the 420. So if they put 1,500 in there, they still are gonna get the 420.
Well, they'll be controlled also, but the 1,200 they will be also limited by that, by the contract.
Okay,
But,
I thought it was strictly by the volume.
I mean, this reservation agreement is just for the 420.
And so up in Alan, I know this wasn't your gig until earlier.
Yeah,
when
no,
Clint
I'm
got
pinch hitting
somewhere
for
else.
Clint, but he, unfortunately, him and Tim have talked in detail about this. But I would make the same comment that it's not necessarily that SLR's got 1,200 homes they think they're gonna need service for the next 5 years, but that capacity could be used for the first housing development as well as, any retail or something else that might be developed in conjunction with that.
So in the first paragraph, it's got 10,000 per year, and then it references for 2 years. And then you get down to the third paragraph, and it references that this is for 5 years. So is the 10,000 just 2 times?
Well, this reservation agreement is a 2-year agreement. And during that 2 years, it says that we will negotiate a sewer, agreement with them to actually take the sewer. All the details of the cost more detailed, this is just the reservation, so that they know before they spend a lot of time developing that agreement that we have the capacity and we can work with them. They have 2 years, they're paying $10,000 a year for this. During that time frame, we'll work out another agreement that goes further and lays out all the costs and all the limitations, number of houses and number of gallons. And we will continue to reserve that, and they will continue to pay for that beyond this 2-year reservation agreement. And it'll be spelled out in the sewer use agreement.
So the $10,000 is only happening twice. Everything else is whatever the sewer rate you negotiate with.
Yes.
And in conversations with Clint today, he felt like, I mean, the 2 years sounds like an extremely long time. He felt like it's really a matter of months that we go work on the actual agreement and you would put that in place. The 2 years of 10,000 is just really y'all reserving it for 2 years and giving us that option to use that route.
So it's a 2-year agreement. Whenever a wastewater agreement is developed and put before you and approved by you and the SLR board, then that will replace this agreement.
Yeah.
And it will carry on that reservation fee, because of the fact if we approve that 3 months from now or 6 months from now, they're not gonna build houses they're not gonna have any flow through it, but they're still gonna have to pay for that reservation. Until such time as that they've built houses and they're generating more revenue than what the agreement proposes.
And the fee for that reservation, you're proposing that we look at
$10,000 a year.
$10,000 a year, utilize that to start making plans for potential needed
My intention is to use that
upgrades?
to help.
Okay. How much will that realistically pay for?
We have a proposal being requested right now, but ballpark figure probably $60,000 to $75,000.
Okay. And how did we negotiate to $10,000 and not more?
Well, because of the fact that they're currently not, council can request more, but I've thought, based on the fact that if we do this over a 5-year period, $50,000 is most of the cost of that study.
It's 20, right?
Right, but you can renegotiate, during that 2-year period, we're gonna negotiate on the future.
Yeah.
That's just holding.
And if
keeps
we
them
go
in the
2
game,
years
is what it
and
does.
they
Keeps them
say,
at the
never
table.
mind, we don't want it, then we got $20,000 and it has.
Decide we want 3 more years, 5 more
So
years.
there's wouldn't have to reimburse if they decided we don't want it.
No, that is a reservation fee.
That's my understanding. It's $20,000 to the city for reserving the opportunity to go negotiate a deal.
Yeah.
And all everything associated with it is on SLR to get it to the sewer plant.
So I'll have to engineer that.
So they get it to us and we take care of it when it hits the facility.
They build it, and they actually would maintain it. I'm not sure, and there's still some details that work out whether the main transmission line would remain theirs or ours. They're using MUD funds to pay for it, so they may have to continue to own it, but anything that is inside the city limits would continue to be ours, and then they would pay for the treatment of that flow at a pretty good rate that would generate a significant amount of revenue for the utility.
Council, any other
And
questions?
we'll have better numbers when we actually get to that wastewater agreement.
And I guess, we have, experienced some TCEQ fines in the past for sewer overflows and spillages and that sort of thing. Would that be something that was shared if that was their line that went south?
They own that infrastructure. Gerald, do you know, would they have their own their permit for those to own and operate that infrastructure?
They'll have a permit to transport it, I'm sure. If it's built within the city limits, then we would be responsible for reporting it and make sure that it was taken care of. Outside the city limits would be their responsibility.
And they have their own sewage wastewater treatment plant that they currently operate. They're reserving that capacity for the industrial development, but at least for now. So it would probably fall under that permit, I would.
Just a real general comment from an SLR perspective, it's like as we're looking at some of the first areas that we would develop out and put housing in and all, we're working with obviously Southwest Milam on potential serving some potable water in that location. We also have the ability to service potable water in some of that location. And we're also building our own wastewater treatment plant, but it's primarily going to be maintained and focused for the Advanced Manufacturing Logistics Center, although it could down the road, hold some of this capacity. We're also working with Bartlett Electric. So as part of this, it looked like a decent opportunity to partner with City of Rockdale because you guys have capacity. Appears you have a lot of capacity right now, so it might be a good revenue source for the city as well as a opportunity that maybe speed to market. It allows us to do things a little quicker, and so that was the objective.
We certainly appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so.
And it is clearly understood that they will be paying 1.5 times our normal residential in city rates, so. I did some preliminary calculations a while back, but I don't want to,
Council, any other questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve this agreement as staff recommended, item 21 for the wastewater reservation agreement.
A motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. It's good to see you. I apologize. I would have moved you up, but you looked like you were enjoying this too much. Agenda item 22, consider take any necessary action on the issuance of a notice of award to Lopez Utility Contractors for the DSW RF Phase 2 water line replacement. Gerald.
Well, it's another one of them 6-year projects finally getting started. We're really pleased that we have Texas Water Development Board has given us the approval to go ahead. It's pretty straightforward. There were 3 contractors that bid on the project. 2 of them that city has done a lot of work with and that I've worked with. A third was Lopez Construction out of Houston. They were significantly more friendly with their bid. And we had them checked out by KSA, all their references checked out, and we're recommending that we go with Lopez Construction out of Houston.
this is for the Phase 2 water line relocation project. The contract amount is $9,201,000.
Council, any questions?
And that does fit within the budget established for the project, with a little bit of room.
Okay. Council, any questions? Consider any action on agenda item 22?
I'm gonna recuse myself from this. I don't know, but I leased some property to Lopez Construction in Houston. I don't know if it's the same one or not. It didn't dawn on me till just now. I have no idea, so.
So there's an affidavit, Councilman, Mayor Pro Tem,
Okay.
you can fill out.
All right.
It's in the back of your binder.
That'd be good.
Appreciate that. Council, I'll entertain any action on this agenda item.
I make a motion that we approve the notice of award to Lopez Utility Contractors for the DWSRF Phase 2 water line replacement project.
I have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Being none, this discussion will vote with Council Mayor Pro Tem Perry abstaining. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gerald.
Last agenda item on our regular agenda, agenda item 23, consider take any necessary action on approving participation in the Rockdale Growth Alliance Subcommittee. Jim.
Good evening, everybody. How are y'all? So this
Depends on
is,
how fast you go.
depending on how fast I go. Okay, well, I will make this quick. Well, we wanted to put together a standing committee that was a group of folks from the city council, the MDD, the county, the school district, to get together on a somewhat regular basis and just talk about growth-related items. And so you see, I believe this made it into your packet. This is a copy of the resolution that the MDD board passed back in February. And that talks about what all we'll talk about, how often we'll meet, some of the rules that will guide this committee. And so one of our board members didn't want to really move forward on this until we talked to the city about it. And so that's what we're doing here today. I've already talked to Dr. Monzingo at the school, so they're on board with also participating in this. And so this is really just y'all saying that you want to participate.
This is, we'll talk about strategies for adapting to the growth that is coming, regardless, and being more proactive than reactive to that growth.
Council, any questions or thoughts or comments regarding this agenda item?
Or volunteers?
I think it's a great idea, Jim. I know we had talked about this briefly a couple weeks ago, and I think it's a great idea. So I move that we participate with the Rockdale Growth Alliance.
What does that mean, participate? I mean, I understand.
We'd appoint 2 members, 3 members?
See, for the city, I believe it is 3.
3 members from this board, and they would meet how often?
At least once a quarter. It means you got to come to another meeting, Lynn.
Once a quarter, and meet with the representatives from the MDD board, the school district, and the county to plan for the growth and strategize, so.
There is a motion on the floor. It has not received a second yet.
Do we appoint tonight? How do we do that? I'll get on board with Esme's motion. I'm just trying to figure out how it works.
If the motion passes, if the motion is seconded and passes, then I would ask the council for volunteers to serve on that board. If they're not, then I would ask for you to nominate somebody involuntarily.
Think about it.
And Scott's not here, so.
Well, he's first on.
Oh, I did get a second from Mayor Perry, so the motion does, we have an active motion with a second on the floor for further discussion if necessary.
I don't with this, I just a question for Jim. Has there ever been any thought to adding, in addition to the groups and people, having a few at large?
Didn't think about that, but it does say in here that all of these meetings will be open to the public and that we will follow the open meetings law so that, we don't want this, and the group can decide whether or not or how many town hall meetings that we'll have. But the idea was, at least for this, was just to keep it to the governing bodies.
I'll volunteer.
Okay.
Be part of it. 1 meeting a quarter, you said?
At least.
That's how it starts, and then
That's
it's like
right.
1 a month, and then 1 a week, and then Zoom calls.
Depends on how fast the growth happens.
Right.
Any other?
I'd be excited to join and participate.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
How many people do you need from council?
3. 4, 3.
There you go, Kyle. Do less.
I'll volunteer. I'd like to be a part of that.
Councilmember Oliveris, I think you said
Yes,
you would
please,
volunteer,
yes.
and then Councilmember Starnes volunteer.
Yes.
We have 3. All in favor of said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay.
It is 7:48. We are going to convene into executive session, discussion pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551072, 551074 of the Texas Government Code to item 1, deliberate about the purchase, exchange, lease of, or value of real property located on the city's 6 acres, 1166 West Highway 79 in Rockdale. Item 2, deliberate about real property negotiations regarding the Rockdale Airport. And item 3, deliberate about Rockdale Volunteer Fire Department TML claim. And 7:49 p.m. Okay, 8:41 p.m. We are reconvening into open session. Council, is there any action to be taken coming out of closed session?
Yes, sir. I would like to make a motion that we authorize the city manager to enter into a letter of engagement with Nichols and Jackson
Nichols, Jackson, Dillard, Hager, and Smith.
Oh.
Where's the rest of it?
It's down.
You should just say Nichols Jackson.
Nichols, Jackson.
Nichols Jackson is, that's,
All right.
Okay. With Nichols Jackson to work on real property negotiations.
I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, we'll vote. All in favor said motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion passes. Council, is there any other action or discussions you wish to take tonight?
We would wish that you would adjourn us, sir.
We are adjourned at 8:42 PM.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.